Good morning and welcome to the press review after the hour of 9 on the 27th of January 2023. Today is Friday and my name is Hilbert Katjand. I'm joined by
King Takamwendo.
Well, as usual, we have the Nation newspaper and the Daily Times newspaper. So we are going to assess the happenings pertaining to what the papers have carried. And to begin with the Nation newspaper, on the front page, there is a story which talks about Martha Chizuma, and the headline says Chizuma on trial. There is a sub-headline which says to appear in court today on 2 counts from leaked audio. Partly the story leads Anti-Corruption Bureau Director General Martha Chizuma is expected to be in the dock today for plea to 2 offences. The state has flagged from her leaked audio conversation. She is expected to appear before the Chief Resident Magistrates Court in Lilongwe under criminal case number 236 of the 2023. And also, according to the charge sheet, the first count is making use of speech to lower the authority of a person before whom a judicial proceeding is being held, which is the state claims is against section 130.
So the story still goes on.
Yeah, it seems like Dust is refusing to settle on the Chizuma case, because last week, that's when we had the president saying, I maintain my stand that I've forgiven Chizuma. And also, just few weeks after that, you see someone suing the Anti-Corruption Bureau Director General. So it seems like we don't know.
But what's your take? Like, is she supposed to appear before court, or simply because the president forgiving her, the case should have been settled?
Well, for me, I look at the issue in 2 ways. On one hand, I see that every citizen has a right to sue each and every individual. Without considering their positions or without considering how people look at the issue. So it's the right of the people to sue the Anti-Corruption Bureau Director General Martha Chizuma. But now we look at the timing. The timing at which all this is happening is the moment when Martha Chizuma is she's settled to arrest some of the ministers in the Tonsa Alliance government. Yeah, so some authorities in that government. So now we look at the timing of the issue and say, no, this wasn't supposed to happen at this particular time. But since they have the right to sue everyone, every individual, we can say let them go on, and the court give a ruling on that. Let justice prevail. Yeah.
Okay. On the front page of the Daily Times, of course, the same story also appear with a headline: Chizuma court over audio today, and I'll not take that one. And there's another one which says the EU says opportunity was lost in cholera fight. Partly, the story says the European Union ambassador to Malawi, Luntha, has said the government and its partners missed an opportunity to cure cholera when it was first reported in March last year, a situation which has led to a crisis. Skinbach said this yesterday after a meeting between 9 EU ambassadors and President Razos Chakwera at Camus Palace in Lilongwe. So I think the ambassador feels like Malawi lost it in March when we reported the first case of cholera. I think, according to the ambassador, maybe the fight was did not bring such an impact that could have curbed the cholera cases, maybe to not spread further.
Yeah, I agree with the ambassador. Because that time when the first case was recorded in March, we were supposed to take drastic measures as a country. We were supposed to do something. But then we relaxed and waited for it to be at the point when people are dying, thousands and thousands of people are succumbing to the cholera pandemic. So we really lost it. We could have done something. We could have put even the measures we've put in this time around in March. At least
sales do not be selling some cooked food items, maybe near schools or whatsoever. So now the sad thing is that it's only in Malawi where the cholera has hit so hard this time around, and comparing to all the rest of the countries around the world, I think it's so sad as a country.
Yeah, and looking at our health system, it's not that heavy that we can expect it to keep the cholera pandemic on its own. So we rely on other countries, and now tikuti tinakanika kukwaniritsa zomwe timayenera kuchita mwezi wa March chifukwa chonena zoti tidatayirira mwina timaona ngati kuti ayi basi ndi mwina kesi imodzi komano this also sends a lesson to the Ministry of Health to be serious at every time pamene tapanga record mwina kesi ya matenda ena ake omwe tikudziwa kuti ali nkuthekera kopita patsogolo. For instance, posachedwapa if not last week ndekuti khale the other week tabanga sojen record case ya polio amene anathayo pakatipa ndithu Malawi timakamba kuti ayi polio zachitika ndithu kuti zatha and itakhala zaka zambiri osambako nkhani ya polio. Anabwera chaka chathachi zinapita ndithu pakatipa pano tapangaso record case ina, and so you hear Vanova kuti what the Ministry of Health is talking about, it's only cholera. Sana kambe kunkhani ya polio koma tudziwa zoti polio mmene waterema akhoza kufalikira anthu ambiri ndithu akhoza kupezeka kuti zabwera zikuchitika and tikamazazindikiraso mwina pamapeto anthu akufa naye komanso anthu ochuluka mwina atapezeka ndi matenda amenewa.
So of course there is a story related to that in the day times of today on the 5th page which says government is planning to have some mass polio vaccine in April. That's according to the Minister of Health. So let's just hope to say that the government will come in with some strategic measures.
Yeah, if that happens, if that happens in the time they have indicated, at least that would be better. Because kundo kwathu Malawi timagamba kuti we just sugarcoat things koma kuti tichita zinthu zija zimativuta. On paper we are good at writing things on paper,
but then implementing
koma kuti tichita implement. So let's hope kuti izozo it's not only in the Daily Times newspaper komano zikhale kuti it's on the ground when April comes anthu ndithu ayambe kulandira akatemera wa polio. Alright, so on the second page of the Nation newspaper, there is a continuation of a story which is appearing on the front page about Martha Chizuma, and another story talks about Summit tips Africa on subsidies, fertilizer supply, and that's of course the headline. Partly the story says experts at the ongoing Feed Africa Summit have challenged governments dependent on fertilizer and subsidies such as Malawi to institute strategies that can simplify availability of inputs on the local market. The experts attending the conference, which opened on Wednesday in Dakar, Senegal, want countries to reduce dependency on Russia as the main fertilizer supplier, but try to understand trade flows and appreciate the regional capacity to provide fertilizer, which they hope will build resilience to shocks in the supply chain, according to information made available to the Nation newspaper. Well, the story comes at a time Malawi government is struggling to at least provide the commodity in rural areas, hard to reach areas. We're talking of Rumpi, we are talking of Mzimba, we are talking of Karonga and other hard to reach areas. Zikuvuta kuti fertilizer afike, and as we are talking banova ndekuti anthu ambiri anayimayima ndithu kugulitsa fertilizer ayo, anabwera oyamba anagawa ndithu ogulitsa komano panova ndizonena kuti anthu akudikirabe ndithu kuti fertilizer wina afika liti ngakhale chimanga chayamba kumasula. So zomwe zikukambidwa apa ndizoona chifukwa tikatengera ndithu after that moment tinabetsa 30 billion kwacha ku butchery ndekuti panopa chomwe chinatsala nchokuti ngati ifa Malawi tinagwidwa njakata kuti so how are we going to implement the affordable inputs program komano thanks to the Russian organization yomwe imagulitsa fertilizer inakamba kuti chifukwa kuti ife ndi ma sanctions we cannot sell the commodity anymore ndekuti tingogawa kwa maiko ovutika kwa Africa and one of the beneficiaries inali dziko la Malawi and we were the first country to benefit from that donation and also fertilizer amene magawa ndekuti comes from that donation ndekuti patsala pa mpoti tigule and you find that the government is saying we need 124 billion kwacha to beef up ndrama yomwe tili nayo kale kuti tigule fertilizer okwanira anthu 2.5 million
ndrama zochuluka kwambiri ndrama zochuluka kutenga ndi mmene dziko lathu likuendera pakali panopa ndrama zochuluka kwambiri komanso mmene wakambirana panopa chimanga stage imene afika chimanga kuona zoti anthu ali ndani do fertilizer okay so let's just hope na kuti majawa achitika chifukwa papena pake tumuona ngati kuti zinthu zomachitika machidodo pang'ono makamaka kumene sofagirikata of course kunabwera kusintha kumeneko chifukwa cha scandal inachitika ija komanso chifukwa cha amene ndondomeko inaendera last year koma still more impact imene tayiona sikuti ibe ndi yayikulu kwambiri under the leadership
Kawale Mr. Kawale
yes sikuti ndi yayikulu kwambiri
siyayikulu and
mwinaso palibe kumene
palibe tinene chilungamo kuti both Mr. Robin Lowe and Mr. Sam Kawale they haven't delivered to the expectations of Malawians chifukwa zikuvuta and you see kuti panova AIB ya ulendo uno last week I had an interview with one of the officials at Center for Social Concern. I said an organization yomwe imakhala kuona za umoyo wa anthu muno Malawi particularly on the agriculture sector. So amagamba kunena kuti this is the worst AIP ever. Kutanthauza zoti at least yoyamba ija koma he is the worst.
Okay, remember you're watching Press Review here on Luntha television, a time that we look into some of the stories that are making headlines in the both papers of the Daily Times as well as the Nation newspaper. So for today, with me, King Mech Kamendo and my colleague
Albert Skatanda.
Moving on to the Times business news, the private sector remains to continue the forex shortage, and the story says the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry (MCCCI) has indicated that the continued forex exchange shortages impinging on operations of the private sector, and that may greatly affect the performance of the economy. This follows the revelations that one of the players in the manufacturing sector, Castor Malawi Limited, has halted production of some of its products due to the same. So,
shortage of forex, we expect to see more of that kind. Kuti magampani they have withdrawn kapena nditu kuseka kumene muno Malawi
anthu kumaloza ntchito.
Last year timagamba suza kuvuta kwa forex, and that also led to millions of Malawians becoming jobless. Tikakumbukira ndithu people nkhani ya ndege kumene ndithu Kenya Airways inapezeka kuti nayo and thousands of Malawians were rendered jobless chifukwa chonena zoti forex wavuta dziko la Malawi. So if it continues, that means more sufferings. Anthu ndekuti tivutika kwambiri.
Actually ukona nkhani panopa so far kuti akasitira Malawi milundi ngapo yazakumwa sakupanga kuti malinga nkunena kuti mina akulephera kuita msakatundu ina zokela maiko akunja due to the lack of forex ndemene akambira MCCI una kuti kuna wake kusogolo kunoko Malawi tikhoza kukhala mavuto kwambiri ngati sipakhala kusintha komabe zukhanga kuti chiyembekezo so far palibe chifukwa sindikuona kunena kuti kodi zimene zizi how can it be improved. pakati apo kunazabwera nkhani njayi kulandira ndalama mabiliyoni mwakuti kuna makamala wana ndi chiyembekezo kenaka basi kupitaso kukankhaso zinaso semphana ndi zimene zija tingokhanga kuti dziko lisipalapa tingotoderana so
it's like the countries on autopilot. We don't even know how the ruling authorities thinking banova kuti mwina akumachimva bwanji, how are they feeling akamaona Malawi complaining each and every day kulibe forex, AIP kulibe, zinthu zakwera mtengo and the salaries are still the same. Akumamva bwanji
and ulova ndawuli pali pose
ulova so ndawuli pali pose ndanthu ocheva
ndifaze ali zinthu zikwera mtengo mana anthu ambiri ali pa ntchito, that would have been something else.
Yeah, at least. And you find kuti ngakhale apange complain kumene anthu ogwira ntchito kuti we need salary increments, akupeze kuti akwayika pahoda aitakhala nikaya akakhala pamene paja you find kuti mpaka chaka chatha akungokhalabe pomwe paja, so you find
adi makechisekere
even ngakhala akamata tatetsani kolera anthu chakudya chimene amadya pa lunch maofesi mu ndichoti amakagula mwina malo ena ake osakhala bwino. And it's not their choice, komano they don't have an option. So amangopita ndithu kuti ayi basi tikangodya pamene paja bora tigwire ntchito kwinako, so zinthu sizikuyenda. Alright, on one of the business pages in the Nation newspaper, there appears weak social protection coverage hits workers. And that's of course the headline of one story appearing on this page, and it has a sub-headline which says report shows the program benefits non-poor groups. And partly the story reads, the latest Malawi labor market profile has found that weak social protection coverage continues to hit most workers, despite a growing recognition of the role of social protection to reduce poverty and inequality. The 2022-2023 Malawi labor market profile compiled by Malawi Congress of Trade Unions and the Danish Trade Union Development Agency shows that although Malawi's social protection programs reflect a relatively high penetration rates compared to the neighboring countries, the program have mainly benefited the non-poor groups.
Okay.
Yes.
Should we move on? Maybe to us and cut pages.
Yes.
Before we turn to sports.
All right. On arts and culture in the Nation newspaper, there appears. Lush Africa brings Mrs. Culture Malawi, and that's of course the headline. Partly the story says Lush Africa Foundation, organizers of the Miss Culture Beauty contest, have added a new platform on their pageant portfolio, Mrs. Culture Malawi. The Mrs. Culture Malawi will be competed by married women, divorcees and widows. All right.
Okay, now turning to the very back page for local sports. Eagles rebuff coaches on offloading players, and part of the story says Blue Eagles Executive Committee has turned down its technical panel's proposal to offload some players at Area 30. In a technical report which Times Sport has seen, the technical panel recommended the release of Chifuyo Mfinganjira, Oswald Maonga, Maxwell Salambula, Onesmo Mendera, Alexander Chigawa, Chisomo Chilasa, and Esa Okaipa. Having assessed some of the players, we have agreed to release about 7 players who are not in our plans. So it's like the technical panel, the coaching panel had a list of players whom they thought that they may not be required come next season at the Area 30. But the team itself, the executive committee, has refused to release some of the players which they feel that they might be used come 2023 season.
All right, that means it's a warning to those players. They must do beta. They must pull up their socks because if they won't perform next season, that means they will be expelled.
Yes, definitely.
So they have to pull up their socks and also do what they can to show the technical panel which if fail, we are still move forward.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Alright, so that also concludes today's press review. Remember, we were giving you some of the stories appearing in the Nation newspaper and the Daily Times newspaper. Both papers are going at the price of 1,000 kwacha. And today, the Friday, the 27th of January 2023, you were with me, Helbert Katanda.
And King Major Kamwendo.
Goodbye for now.